Remember those old games you thought were so great? The ones like Vector Man and Golden Axe? You thought the franchises were timeless, but then they were never heard from again, even though people loved them. Here's my personal list. 5 games that need reboots.
Number 5.
Golden Axe is a classic Sega arcade beat-em-up, later ported to the Sega Genesis and yes, even the Sega Master System. It had a lot going for it, and I'm surprised to see that it never left the 16-bit consoles. A Golden Axe game on the Saturn would have been great. Anyway, that's aside from the point. The game takes a combat style similar to Streets of Rage or Double Dragon, but with fewer and stronger enemies. Believe it or not, the first time I played this game, I didn't even think I was playing it right because of that combat style. Many people may be like me, and I encourage you to sit down for a while and give this game another shot. I found it to be very enjoyable, and though it may seem a bit simplistic at first, there is much more to it than it would appear. The game is relatively cheap now, and it's definitely worth your time. You can find re-releases on many modern platforms, or on the Sega Genesis, like you're seeing here.
Number 4.
Nintendo had Donkey Kong Country, and Sega had Vector Man. This game has an interesting gameplay style. While yes, it is a platformer, it takes some inspiration from games like Shinobi, where instead of jumping on enemies, which will get you nowhere, you shoot things at them. In the case of Vector Man, you shoot photons. Oh, and I forgot to mention, this game uses pre-rendered 3D graphics, which is an accomplishment itself, given that it was done on a system that was pushing 6 years of age. The game itself is extremely fun, though a bit difficult to pick up on at first. The gameplay style is fun and intuitive, and it's graphically one of the best games you'll ever see. The worlds in this game are colorful and have so much attention to detail. I am a bit disappointed though that Vector Man was never released on a 32-bit console. It could have benefited a lot from the enlarged color palette on a 32-bit system. You really should get this game if you can. It looks great, it's relatively cheap, and you'll have a blast playing it.
Number 3.
Next on the list is Virtua Racing, a game with a rather interesting origin. At first it was a proof of concept work for a new 3D arcade platform, the Model 1, as it was called. However, the proof of concept was so good that it was released on arcades and later ported to the Sega Genesis, becoming the first and only game on the system to use the SVP chip to handle 3D graphics. I'm really surprised that this game didn't have a sequel of some sort, given how good the first one was. Possibly because the SVP cartridge cost lots of money to produce, going to retail at approximately $100, $40 to $60 more than the average game. It's very fun and definitely pleasing to the eye, given the game's uncanny ability to move so many polygons so fast and keep such a high frame rate. Luckily, it's a lot cheaper used than it is new, so give this game a shot if you can.
Number 2.
It's the future! Aliens have taken over your ship, and you have to save Earth. I think I've said enough. This is Zero Tolerance, and aside from being one of the more graphically impressive games on the Genesis, a 3D world with stock hardware and a decent frame rate, it also boasts the first-person shooter gameplay style. Your goal is simple: shoot anything and everything that moves. The game reminds me a lot of Doom, with emphasis on level exploration. Though the game does not offer that much in terms of music, it has tons of digitized voice. You really should give this game a shot if you're looking for something different and fun. This game will keep you entertained for a very long time. It's relatively cheap now, so there's no excuse not to have this in your Genesis collection. Before we get to number 1, let's recap. Number 5, Golden Axe. Number 4, Vector Man. Number 3, Virtua Racing. Number 2, Zero Tolerance.
Number 1.
I can't even put into words how great the Streets of Rage franchise is, especially the second one, which you're looking at now. It has some of the most beautiful, detailed, colorful graphics that you will ever see on a 16-bit system. It plays so smooth, and you'd be hard-pressed to find lag, slowdown, or flicker, thanks to some very good programming in it.
Blast processing.
Anybody who's played a Streets of Rage game, aside from really liking the gameplay, will probably have something to say about the music. All 3 games were done by Yuzo Koshiro, and the 3 games have great soundtracks, though the one in Rage 3 is a bit controversial because of the experimental music style it had. If you don't believe me, just listen for yourself. attention to detail is unbelievable, like how on stage 2 if you slam somebody down on the ground and there's a light nearby, the light will shake back and forth. It's a great game, and you really should check it out. You can find it everywhere, from Steam to the Wii Virtual Console to, of course, the Sega Genesis. I really hope you guys enjoyed this video. Give me a like if you liked it. If you didn't like it, feel free to leave some constructive criticism in the comments, and be sure to smash that subscribe button. It's always nice to know that somebody out there appreciates what I do. Thank you, and have a nice day.